Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's Lair. I'm your host, Larry, the most delectable Chupacabra man. And we're back to check out some more indie games. This one, Roguelike Us, is actually not out yet. It's coming out to Steam Early Access on Friday, February 10th, 2017, this coming Friday. And it's made by a student group out of Michigan called Oddbyte Games. And this is a roguelike that is looking to take a standard roguelike foundation and then try to mix and match it with some other genres to do something new and fancy. I'm not sure if they're quite accomplishing that just yet, but we will certainly take a look. You never really know. So basically, we're this rogue knight, I believe, and we have to wander through these different dungeons in order to redeem ourselves, and we end up going through like a different randomly generated cacophony of each of these dungeons until we defeat the 4 guardians to then save the world, maybe? I don't know, but what I do know is this is a knight whose sword has a laser gun. So I do know that. Now, what they're trying to do to give you the ability to kind of customize and mix and match your character is they're letting you do things like swap out 2 different weapons, which slightly change the way that you play by giving you like a faster attack speed, and then otherwise you just end up dodging around the game by hitting the X button. And then you can also do like a cool AoE where you stab your sword into the ground because the ground doesn't have enough problems already. So yeah, that's basically the game. Let's just go inside of this portal here and start stabbing things. So much like you'd imagine a good roguelike would have, is there's a bunch of different environments, it looks like, or at least a fair number of different environments. This is a pretty early build, so I haven't seen too crazy many different ones. But there's a bunch of different areas. They are randomly generated, and you go kill different assortments of funky monsters. Like there's these slimes, which are all about touching my butt. And then there's also these like high technology mole people drilling machines that seem really concerned with what's going on up on the surface, and they shoot what looks like little angry jellyfish at you. Not sure what their deal is, but they exist, and I just assumed that they didn't. And I'm kind of curious about the choice of weapons in this game so far, because at present there's, or not weapons, but enemies, because at present there's slimes, and then we graduate to like mole people. I'm not really sure what the mole people are doing on the surface, but I'm always very suspicious. There's also some like really high technology Dyson spheres from like the Foundation book series or some such. So I don't know. It seems a little all over the place, but you know, it's an early access game. All of this stuff is definitely subject to change, including the bosses, which some of the bosses, well, the only boss I've seen, definitely feel like something out of The Binding of Isaac, which is interesting. There's also a lot more health all of a sudden. When I was playing this game before, not nearly as much health. So here's one of the other enemies, which we will actually laser, that occasionally emits a electro beam and attempts to taser you. So that's an interesting change from slime monsters. And then eventually we'll get into the territory of like magical golems that are really handsy. You know, all those things that we've come to love and enjoy from different genre of roguelike. Still not entirely certain that I call this character a rogue. And also, I'm not sure this game is going to have multiplayer support because it says rogues like us, but currently we are a singular entity, not really a dual citizenship thing going on here with more than one person. So take that how you will, but what I can say about this game is, according to the creators, it won some awards at a couple different little conventions, and it had a successful stint on Kickstarter, so there's several people that have already thought that this looked like a very compelling game. in order to, you know, give you a basis on whether or not it's worth buying. Now, I can say that while I find some of this game a little funky, like the choice of enemies and the fact that all of the environments kind of feel the same, they're just different arrangements of themed boxes. This is a farm-themed box. I haven't gotten to see some of the other areas just yet, but I'd assume maybe there's a desert-themed box. So you're gonna want to do something to delineate yourselves over at Oddbyte Games from the typical standard plain Jane dungeon crawling arcade game that everyone already knows in 50,000 different ways. Especially given that the price point for this game is going to be $15, and that might not be bad for an early access title per se, but in the market for games that are already done and you're not waiting for them to get finished, these games are a dime a dozen. Like, you can already find a bunch of different roguelikes for $5. You can probably wait till a summer sale and buy the Binding of Isaac's entire collection for not very much. So, I mean, you gotta do something to make this game compelling for $15, and I'm not sure for the average consumer that this has it. And it's not enough to say, well, dungeon crawly roguelike fans would like it. They'd probably like all of the different roguelikes that exist. They're not the first people to make one recently. And that's unfortunate, but that really is where we're at right now. There are a lot of these games out on the market. So let me see here. I'll just keep stabbing you guys. These characters definitely remind me of some of the subterranean mobs from The Binding of Isaac, which I haven't played a boatload of. I'm not like Northern Lion, who's played like 1,200 episodes of that game, at least an hour in length or more. But what I can say is this has the good foundation. Like, it honestly does. The combat is pretty smooth, mostly smooth. It's just, I'm not entirely certain what they're gonna do to try and delineate this game from other roguelikes, because this just feels like every roguelike right now. Except for I can do things like, I can put down a teleporter and teleport back to this location whenever the floop that I want. I haven't really found a reason to use a teleporter yet. Like, these dungeons aren't really big enough for me to think, boy, it would suck walking all the way back across the dungeon. Maybe I should teleport. Like, I've not had that problem just yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Who's to say? I mean, I'm to say, because I'm recording this right now. But that's not really the point, is it? So I found the treasure box up there. I'm currently just looking for, like, a way gate to the next part of this dungeon. In fact, this looks like just the way gate I've been searching for. So this is the first mini-boss. Doesn't have a name right now, but it is a Gigunda worm, and he is very splurty with all these rocks. And our job is to not get crushed by him, and also maul the shit out of him. Yep, that's basically what we're gonna do today. Don't fall on me, you bastard. This worm has a tendency to, like, do that thing that dogs do when they're really excited to lay down with you after a long day, where they just kind of flop on you, which seems kind of rude if you ask me. But good news is he's not doing his little floppy attack, which is nice, because that absolutely sucks. So really, we're just trying not to get crushed to death by rocks, and this will definitely look like a lot of different bosses from existing dungeon crawling roguelikes. I mean, a lot of these mechanics are going to be recycled from bosses all over the video game spectrum, so it shouldn't be too surprising to anybody that this has some similarities with other bosses and stuff. But so far, yeah, I really like the combat. It almost reminds me of like a half between the way that a Souls game plays for combat, where, oh, that's a lot of rocks. Don't crush me, you butthole. Stop it. Stop it. You're not my real dad. My dad wasn't even a worm. He was a person, a Viking. Oh, that's bad. That's the fall thing that I was talking about. But yeah, like, I think that the combat is pretty solid so far. It's like a cross between that anime, like, shadow step mechanic from, like, ninja samurai anime and also a little bit of Dark Souls thrown in there as well. So we've gotten our loot from this boss. Now we go to the next leg of our adventure. Now this isn't one of the Guardians. I haven't visited the Guardians yet, because I didn't want to get too far in here. I wanted some of my review information to be a fresh reaction to everything that's been going on screen, but this is a lot of what the game is. So now we're in a forest, and as you can see, your standard farm box has become a forest-themed box with several boxes full of foresty-related shenanigans. But I do know there's a new enemy in this level, or there could be a new enemy in this level that we have not seen yet. It's like a weird, murdery golem. And there it is. It's right there. They're really, really annoying. So what they do is they kind of raise their hand like they've got something to say, and then they viciously charge forward. So they're like really annoying magic golems. I feel like those golems should do something more obvious than raise their hand before they attack. Because the hand is the same color as the rest of them, which is green, like everything else in this level right now. So it's really easy to mistake what they're trying to do. Don't kill me, you buttholes. Alright, there we go. I've only got 1 health left. Oh, there you are. Do you want to play with me, Billy? Don't you worry, I've got a nice stabby sword. Alright. Really want some health. I could use- oh, okay. These are just the Dyson spheres. So, one of these is a new sphere. Not really sure what their shtick is. But oh, it's got slime in it. It's slime time, is it? Ah, crap. Well, good thing we've got teleportation technology to teleport back to base. So we'll just skip this death recap, because it just tells me my score, which I already know. Though I'm not actually competing against anybody. So let's just take a look at what they're doing to kind of delineate a different sort of playstyle for everybody. So currently the only thing you really get is you have the ability to swap out different swords that slowly shift from a really small fast sword like this one, the Luxorin letter opener, to the Worn Cleaver, which takes a frickin' year to stab anything. And while this seems like it might be an interesting tactical trade-off, I can actually tell you from experience that the monsters all kind of rush you at about the same speed, so the medium sword or the fast sword is probably the only thing that's going to really matter for your gameplay right now. I also think it would be a lot more interesting if you could get crazy power-ups between missions, because I have these gold feathers or whatever, and I guess you might be able to buy something, but I can't buy any new gear from the armorer. Maybe our reward chest gave us something. So let's see what this says. This gave us a spinel and some cobalt dye so that we can make our thing look different. I guess? I don't know what any of this stuff does. Does that let me slot stuff? What's in here? Well, I guess I can change the color of my helmet. Or can I? Doesn't seem to let me actually change the color of my armor. That's weird. But yeah, basically this is rogues like us. To be honest, doesn't really feel like it's doing anything different. Like, maybe they have some plans to change that up in the future. But to be completely honest, like right now, probably wouldn't spend $15 on this. Now, to be fair, this is going to be on a slight launch sale for $12, but even still. I feel like you get so much more game for that money, even on early access, for that $12. Even for $5. Even for $10. So, that might be a bit of a hard sell. We will have to wait and see how the game evolves, because this game could easily change from week to week, because there's a lot of great developers out in the wild that have a tendency to update their game massively, if not week to week, or day to day, month to month. I know, like, the people who make Ark have a tendency to add a lot of stuff to their game from week to week, So there's always a bunch of stuff that you constantly have to update. I don't know if this is going to be one of those games necessarily. We'll have to wait and see, but this is the game as it stands right now when I'm testing out one of the early prototype versions of it. And yeah, so this has been your host and pal Larry the Chupacabra checking out Rogues Like Us. Hope you've enjoyed this little first look coverage so far, and I will catch you guys and gals next time for some more indie first look Let's Play action. So until then, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can check this game out for yourself. There's a link in the description. And I'll catch you next time. Toodles, everybody, and have a good one.